No, it's charged. This is different than the one I normally use. I switched from an iPad to an iPad from a tablet.
Nice big screen.
I could write it. Everybody's looking at me. Is this supposed to be open for a meeting or?
How are we doing it?
I don't know how it's just a public meeting, so we just have open free discussion, I think. Do what?
It's a special meeting.
Yeah. So, well, if we need to call, we don't call it to order because it's not really a public meeting, right?
Yeah,
it's a public meeting.
I mean, it is a public meeting, sorry, I knew that, but
We're just not
we
making
don't, there's
decisions.
no agenda, we've just got several things we've got to talk about.
Who wants to start?
Commissioners or,
I can start off with the handout. When Verity had talked to Paul, and they're a company that installs green energy with guaranteed savings. If you don't save what they tell you in the beginning, over a certain period of years, then they pay you back on that. So it's guaranteed savings to us. To begin with, they were talking solar at the jail, solar down at the highway department. Since we started that, the solar grants come to an end the end of June this year. They won't, unless there's new legislation, but they're not expecting that. So yesterday, he asked if he could bring by some new information, just concentrating on mainly the courthouse, because we know we've got a lot of issues that need to be taken care of here. But he did include lighting in all of the county buildings. He said that's where you can reap the greatest savings, is by going to LED lighting. So that's what the handout I had given to you goes that direction. And I mean, we can go through it step by step, or if you just want to look at it. Of course, for the courthouse, one thing we desperately lack is building automations and controls on our heating and cooling. You know, it turns my stomach every time I drive past the courthouse in the winter and see windows open on the top floor. But I mean, it's a over 100-year-old building, and heat rises, so that's where all the heat goes. Summertime, it's terribly hot upstairs. These fan coil units out here in the hall are at the end of their life. As you can see, our boiler, let's see, I think it's a third, what page was that on? Is at the end of its life, 27 years. So, but the building automations and controls, to me, will reap a huge savings for us. Of course, we just replaced the chiller, what, 4 or 5 years ago, so we're in good shape there. But the last page, get the right paper here, is a spreadsheet that shows yearly savings. Now, the second line is annual operational savings. If you notice, the first 4 columns are extremely high, but that is spreading out the cost of new equipment being purchased, of labor and installation and that sort of thing. So, here. So the actual operational savings go from 5th year on out, and you can see over on to the right, there's a column, starts off total project costs, 3.2 million. Projected savings over 20 years is 3.9. And if you go out to 25 years, it's 4.4. So in order for this project to pay everything back, it's 16 and a half years.
And then you need to do it again.
Yeah, well, let's hope not.
Well,
But windows, Patty just handed out the quote for our windows and doors that Annette had put together for us. And the tuck pointing, I believe, was in that also.
What's tuck point?
That is restoring the limestone on the outside, resurfacing, filling cracks, keeping water out so that you don't freeze and break the exterior of our building. So, as you can see, the windows, the total on that was, and the way I read on the one quote, 548,000 is just the windows alone. The installation is another $500,000. So, and I haven't got through all this part yet. I just got it. But it gives a lot of specs on the windows and that sort of thing.
so after looking through all these, is there things you go, yeah, we'd like to do that, but we don't really think we need to do that?
Oh, we can pick and choose, yes. I mean,
I mean, are there things that you guys of yourselves have already kind of said,
you notice there's no solar in there, so.
yeah,
We just didn't, going up on our roof, brand new roof over at the jail and mounting solar panels and I mean, you're just asking for, you're gonna void a warranty on the roof and, we just didn't see that as being really a good option for us.
So if you were prioritizing, Marty, what would be your prioritization?
Well, speaking, I think we pretty well, doors and windows are the main thing. The windows, I mean, when you come in the west side over here, the window for the veterans office, I mean, it's rotted about a ½ inch on the bottom, and the windows upstairs are the same. You know, I've told different folks that, you know, I worry about on a windy day like what we're gonna have tomorrow, if somebody would open both doors on the west side, we're liable to pop a window out upstairs because they're getting in that bad shape. We've just got to get something done with the windows. And doors, I mean, you know, you can see light all the way around them. You know, we need new doors also.
Another problem with the doors, quite frankly, they don't always shut. Unless you're the last one to leave in the evening, sometimes they don't lock as they should, so we have a security problem there as well.
So doors, windows will be your top priority, second will be,
Tuck pointing too.
Well, yeah.
We gotta do that because if not,
Sorry.
we're gonna run down in on our.
The tuck.
oh, the top.
Yeah, tuck pointing.
Yep.
What's that?
also really, you probably need to consider the HVAC.
Well, the chiller's been replaced.
I knew that, but
But yeah, like I said, building automation and controls be a huge payback. It'll pay back quick.
You know, the thermostats here really are almost
Yeah.
non-functioning at times.
well, the fact that people are upstairs opening windows tells you all about what your ventilation system's doing, which is not much.
I have a question about upstairs. If the windows have been leaking for a long period of time, which supposedly they have we checked for mold up there?
Well,
Because if you run into a problem with construction, you run into a problem with mold, then you're gonna have
I
a
mean, there's not
problem.
mold on the walls or anything like that. I mean, keep getting complaints about mold in the fan coil units. But I mean, anytime you got an air conditioner sucking moisture out, you know, you're gonna have mold. We're in Indiana, you know, I mean, there is mold everywhere. And, but as far as mold from leaks, no, we don't have that anywhere. that I know of at this point. I mean, we did repair some, that was prosecutor's office a few years ago. It was from one of the air handling units upstairs, and it was leaking water down, and coming through the ceiling, so, but, once again, you know, I mean, we're in a 100-plus-year-old building, and those kind of things are gonna happen. And,
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, because if they would happen to run, the reason why I'm saying that, one of the officers up there told me they had mold up there. And that's the reason why, if you're going to do that.
well, if we replace the fan coil units, we'll take care of, the mold complaint I heard, anyway, so.
I just want to make sure if we're going to have extra expense to clean up, that's why I'm getting there.
Right, no, there won't be any extra expense.
I mean, I see the estimate on the windows, and you said the installation was another $500,000. What's the cost of the tuck pointing? Is that, what page is that on, or am I missing?
$350,000 on the front, I mean, $35,000 was on the front page.
Yeah, it's on the, and that's.
Oh,
flatter
okay, I
too.
see, no, I just thought that was like, okay.
What about
Well,
the,
let's see, that's just for the stairs, so.
oh, okay.
Just 3 doors on it, the whole thing is more like 640,000.
Yeah, which,
Oh, really?
yeah.
600.
That figure to me, I'll be very honest with you, seems a little bit high. I don't think it should run that much, but I'm not a contractor, so I don't know, but that seemed pretty high to me.
Actually, I was expecting it to be a little more.
I was thinking about $1 million.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah,
So does that need to be done first to seal it up before we go in to replace the windows and doors, or we're just gonna be back to square one and?
right, it really does. Actually, anything with the outside of the building, we need to do now, because it's overdue.
So that's really number one is the tuck pointing.
Tuck pointing, windows and doors.
Yeah.
Because if we don't keep the weather out, we're gonna make more problems in here, so.
Well, depending on where you guys settle on that, I have been informed as earlier today that we would qualify for $1.4 million in grant money to be able to help accomplish this, and it's a pretty good opportunity. So if we can cover that difference between what projects you want to do and the grant, they would actually go up to a $4.5 million project. So the 1.4 is the max we could get in grant, but they would go as high as a $4.5 million project.
On the grant, what would be the deadline? When was that application?
It's kind of an open grant because it's a federal program, and where I got the information was Thrive grant writer. So
I am also working on a grant, which is different than yours. And he's supposed to get back with me in the next 2 or 3 days. And I think we'd be eligible for a little bit, but will not be that nearly that much.
Yeah.
Not nearly.
Every
Just-
little bit helps.
Oh, go ahead.
Every little bit helps though, I mean, whatever we
It'd be more what we have.
Right,
Just for fun, I Googled grants for historic Indiana buildings and got 3 pages of Indiana grants. Some are DNR grants, some are various things, but it looks to me like there's lots of grants out there. And I don't know how many, I don't know who qualify, but they are.
the problem is when you Google them like that, you'll find some of them that's already been maxed out.
Yeah, I realize that.
But this is a program that just basically came about. And so it's money that I don't think Ryan was pretty confident he'd get it.
So
that'd be nice.
should we hire Ryan and his grant writers to
You
give us?
you would pony back on Thrive, yeah. My guess is a grant that big probably cost you $50,000 to get administration on it. And it's a pretty good trade,
Yeah.
so
And Marty, what was the cost for the furnace and the building of automation and the controls? I didn't see it.
Sure, if you broke that out, I think you broke that right.
And by the way, there's also, and I think this actually might be through the Department of Ag, but it's somebody. They have money available also that we can borrow at very, very low rates and pay back on a schedule, which we don't have any loans that I know of. But
Is it embedded somewhere else,
Other than
Marty? or
just, well,
Is it
that's the
embedded
bond.
somewhere else?
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just not
the
seeing it.
Bond.
That's what I'm looking.
And you can actually bond a project this big, but I don't
Right
think
now on
you do.
the HVAC,
But
we didn't
money-
have any quotes on that. That came from Verigy.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay.
he just gave us the overview in that, report that I handed out. The way they come in and did, so it's a survey, went through every building, to see, what are savings for getting rid of fluorescent lights, how much savings we get on the windows, doors, and all those things. He said, the tuck pointing, could be included into the project. Normally it's, mainly on, has to be mainly for energy savings. But he said, on something like that, he said they can get it rolled into the project and possibly even, I told him, I said, well, we've got some quotes on getting a new elevator because we were without an elevator for 3 weeks last year. And, the quote on that was, well, right around 400,000. Is that what that?
I think so.
Once again, the biggest problem is, since it's a historic building, everything has to remain the same. We can't change the elevator shaft or any of that kind of stuff. We have to match the equipment to the building. So, and just as kind of a reminder, once again, what Verigy, they did all that survey. He said normally, if you had an engineering firm come in and do that survey, it would be $50,000 just for the amount of time they spent here doing the survey and going over everything. The way they made their money is as a general contractor over our project. Then they advertised, put out the RFPs, requests for proposal, and take care of all that kind of stuff for us. They've already given us a letter to advertise for bids. Or a sample letter that, we can change as what we want, but that's basically what Verigy does for us then.
Jason, on what information you got, was any of that from Landmarks?
I didn't look at that book. Well,
I have not contacted Landmarks, but I was thinking that they might have some money available. Does anybody have any idea on that?
I've been talking to them about a church. Their money is very limited, but this is a courthouse, so they might come up with it. I can't say they wouldn't. I just know churches are, the only thing they're really impressed with at the church is the fact that we have a WTA outhouse that's original.
Oh, that's something to be proud of.
I'm sorry, but
Since this building is historical, I thought maybe we might qualify.
The problem you get into when you start going down those roads is they have such restrictive rules. A lot of times it eliminates you from other areas of grants and stuff you can have because they conflict with each other.
Now, Larry, with the grant writing through Thrive, then would he or she seek out the grants in various places or just write?
This particular one, Terry knows where it is, but
Would seek out other ones then?
But they have, I mean, that's all they do is go to things to find grants. The grant writer that they have actually used to write grants in the Washington DC area. She has a few contacts. So,
So Larry, you're saying they could write a grant for the money you're talking about, and then also. they-
Specifically
research
for
and find out-
the county courthouse
things that
project.
Jason has on his list.
and there's other things too, like there's,
Well, I'll tell you up front, I want to go after all the free money that we can get, okay? I think we should. I think we should.
And as Ryan said the other day, I don't know if he said it in a public meeting or not, but some of these grants, the previous administration had grants out there for everything.
Yeah.
And they granted everything in the world, and the current administration has cut back a whole bunch of grants. So if there's some grant money out there and everything else, we can get it. We need to get it, just,
I just wish I'd have thought of putting daycare centers in for them, but.
well, the freebie stuff is starting to dry up.
Clearing centers.
Yeah,
But I mean, if we can get a $1.4 million grant, that's gonna take a lot of years off of that 16.5 year payback, so.
oh, yeah, or takes care of something on priority one, and then you
Exactly.
can move up the list.
Is your thinking that we should do this project and, or should we piecemeal it to get and do our own thing? I mean, when he was sitting here talking about this, they were gonna replace the Havocs in the health department, and we had just put that in. And they were gonna replace other stuff that was really relatively new. And the paybacks, I mean, we're spending a lot of money to replace stuff and bring them up to current whatever, but a lot of the stuff was fairly new and there was no reason to replace it.
Right. Well, that was the reason he come back with, this other report, was just to concentrate on the courthouse and
Okay.
because, we got a 20,000 for the new roof down at the extension office, 17, 18, I don't remember now what it was, but yeah, there's, bills just keep coming, so.
So
But,
do you guys have a number that like we're going, okay, this is kind of what we think is the best optimal amount? So we can figure out what we need to fund.
If you were to get all you,
If you had like your preferred package, what would that be?
well, I had invited Tony to come, but he wasn't sure he would be able to get here from over at the jail because, of course, they included LED lighting. Well, we know all the new building has already got LED lighting, and they've replaced a lot of them outside and in the existing building also. To me, my thought was to just leave the jail alone, because, really things are in pretty good shape over there.
I'd be very disappointed if they weren't.
Well, the existing building,
Yeah, but I mean, we even modified that to some extent.
yeah. To me, tuck pointing, windows, doors, building automation system, the boiler being at, end of life, 27 years, I think,
What's the source, is that, I know it's, is that heated with gas or electric? The boiler?
I'm sure it's gas.
yeah.
Gas. I mean, the efficiency in these new systems is so, I mean, we had a high efficiency, when we built our house, we had the highest efficiency heat pump system we could get. We turned around, and replaced it 3 years ago because it was 22 years old at the time. It's unbelievable, the difference in improvement. And I mean, we had an efficient house, we thought, before, but now it's like our electric bill's half of what it used to be. We're totally electric. It's amazing how much more they can do, and even gas is the same way.
Let me ask you, on the tuck point, we got the cost, how long does that process take? I mean, I knew they were on the roof forever, replacing this roof. What are we looking at as far as timeline?
Jason probably moved more.
It'd be you're gonna scaffold the entire building, so it's gonna be a while.
Okay, I
is
didn't
that
know.
what they were
but-
doing in Rockville? Because they've had it scaffolded forever.
They did it Crawfordsville up there, and they'll go into scaffold,
Yeah,
so.
it'd be a while, I mean, if that's what we
I'd say
need.
6 months would eat, 6 months probably did it.
Probably, yeah.
But the ideal thing would be to do windows
At the same
while all that
Yeah.
stuff's set up. And, that way you're not having to, get a big lift or anything in here after you've just had scaffolding around.
Can
the
the
whole
same
building.
people do both projects?
I've never seen a mason put in a window.
Well, that's, I've seen them do it, but I don't know if that's.
Which end of this hammer do I use?
So LEDs, are we doing that now when you're changing out bulbs?
Not over here, yeah.
So it's not just as easy as changing out bulbs,
Oh,
you have to
okay.
change out fixtures.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
you can
they'll-
retrofit them sometimes, but
The way what I understood, they'll take these fixtures out and move the lights on back up to the ceiling, and it'll actually be more like what it used to be.
We do that at the school corporation, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you do.
And Rick said if we had any questions for him, he would be available between 5 and 7 this evening. So, I mean, if there's something we need to call and ask him, we can call and put him on speaker and,
By the way, Ryan said the same thing, he's available. Said he
So
could
what was your
come in.
dollar amount? I know Larry got you on another subject, but what was you thinking?
well, I'm sure if we pick and choose a little more, we can get under the 3.2 million pretty easily. But I mean, as far, windows, doors, the tuck pointing, the building automations, to me, the lighting's not the biggest expense. So, he said that's one reason he pushes the lighting, because for the expense, you get more savings on lighting. So,
Lighting doesn't keep the building in good shape.
right.
But you do get a payback on that.
Oh, yes, yeah.
did he say anything about rebates? You were talking about changing out the lights.
I don't remember you saying anything about
That
that.
was not discussed, he did not mention that.
A lot of times if you change from an older fixture and upgrade, they'll give you a rebate and pay for, $25 a light or whatever.
Duke Energy,
Yeah, yeah.
Duke Energy will refund you back if you make your building more efficient, and they will also, there's something about windows in houses, but I don't know if that works on historic buildings or not. We replaced all the windows in a house with new efficient ones, we could get a tax credit on. But we don't pay taxes.
They'll say we're tax free.
Yeah. Well, our goal out of this meeting was to get a priority list. And I think we've got an idea, because we'll have to go back to Rick and say, okay, here's what we're talking about, here's what we want. Because it'll change all these figures then,
So if I
so.
hear you correctly, you're probably talking, once you whittle it down a little bit, around the $3 million range.
3.5.
It would be safe to say, yeah, by not doing anything across the street, that's gonna make a pretty big difference,
So if
so.
we can get that $1.4 million grant, we're looking at 1.5, 1.6.
I mentioned at an earlier meeting that it was going to take the commissioners and the council working together on this. So I'd like to know what some of you are thinking.
What I was told on that grant was if we were going to do a $3.5 million project, we could get 1.4. So I don't know how that,
Shifts.
if you lower the amount, you're probably going to get less in your
Well,
grant.
sure.
Well, Paul, to your question, I think,
Because then we just.
obviously, this courthouse has some needs.
It's
I mean,
really-
these aren't wants or desires, we've got some needs here that needs to be done. I'd like to really have a really detailed scope of, once we take some of these things out, we're at a pretty, almost, dollars and cents figures of where we're at, then we can look at the
I
fiscal.
think we need to be realistic on something else. Once this goes out to bid and so on, the cost may come in a little bit lower, or it could come in a little bit higher. I think we have to keep that in mind.
Well, with inflation, it's not going to get
I was
cheaper.
gonna say, where have you seen lower lately?
Yeah.
Yeah, other than
Well, that works in
labor
the
prices.
dictionary, so what do you suggest?
Gas, yeah.
Daily. Up and down.
On the, just a quick question on the windows, the front page, it says exterior aluminum expander trim. Now, is that gonna fit within the historic preservation? You going to aluminum? Okay. I see a head shaking, so I'm like, okay.
I'm not, I was kind of going around, I don't know for sure. Well, let's see.
It's no more.
That was
painting.
from, that was from Paul, right?
Yeah.
He would know that.
Yeah.
Would be historical.
And Rick Anderson from Verigy would know that because they've done 2 or 3 old courthouses, and so they're doing one now down over towards Cincinnati. I can't remember which county, but they've done a lot of these type of projects, so,
He said that night he was here, that
okay,
he was aware, when you brought him, he
right,
was aware of the historic
yeah.
requirement.
But as far as this,
Yeah, he
this
said
quote
that night.
was not from him. This is what Annette had called and got,
Oh,
was this
that's right.
Pell and
Yeah, we wanted a ballpark figure what we was
Yeah.
looking at, because we had no idea, so this is kind of a ballpark figure that was given to us 2 years ago, 3 years ago, what is it?
Last year.
It's been 3 years ago, it's worthless, I'll just tell you.
I thought it was 23.
Yeah, July 14, 23 is there at the top.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So we have to keep that in mind, with these prices, I'm sure are
Like
too low.
648.
Found out.
so, I mean, if we go ahead, if we give Verigy the go-ahead on it, then, I mean, they'll be sending out and getting all these quotes again. Like Paul Bryant said, we were just trying to get a ballpark figure so we had an idea what we were looking at.
So Verigy would be acting as the general contractor.
Exactly, yes.
What would their fee be?
That I couldn't, it's all rolled into this figure, so.
Would be prudent to interview some other people to be a general contractor. You know, it's, again, I'm going back, it's my experience at School Corporation. We went through, we had a $32 million project. We interviewed 3 or 4 different general contractors and kind of come up with they brought us their ideas and their spiel and their cost. We were able to, choose a contractor instead of just, is this one we've gotten prices from that might be something advantageous to all of us.
You'd still have to go to bid with it. I mean, you'd still have to go to bid and look at everything. Now, I mean, Larry, I'll ask you this. The grant, 1.4, where are we gonna take the rest of this out of?
Well, that's what I was saying, there's a couple of ways we could do it. I mean, we have the cash reserves, but I don't know that if we're doing a project that's gonna give us a long-term return, if we can get money at below inflation rate cost, that's basically like getting free money.
Right.
And I know there's some 2% money available if we just borrowed it and then pay it back over a period of time. But we have the cash, I mean,
Right, no.
and because of that, it wouldn't be an issue to borrow it either, so,
Yeah, because we're making more than the 2%.
yes.
Right.
Well, yeah, on the return on
That's
the
what I mean,
cost,
yeah.
yeah. And that's the whole,
So between this grant and obviously getting the loan part would probably be the easier part of the two. When
I mean,
would
in
this,
theory, you could bond it, but I don't think we need to do that.
No.
It's not a big enough project.
when would this grant take place? I mean, how quick could, just out of curiosity, when would all this
That's a question
start?
for Ryan, but it sounded like really quickly. I mean, it's not a short, it's not a
Is
long
this a
term.
competitive grant, Larry?
You'd have to ask him. It's actually a federal program, I believe, is what he told me. So, he just literally, I asked him about it earlier today. He made a phone call and called me back in about 45 minutes and said that's what he found out. I'm pretty sure he said it was a federal program. He just told me today, so. Because I was thinking this afternoon, before he come up here, I thought, if we're gonna fund that, maybe there's some other money available, and I thought I'm gonna call him. he's, well, you see, that meeting we had Monday night, I mean, he got his hands on a lot of pills. Amazing.
Jason, would your company be interested in looking at this and quoting on it?
Yeah, it would. I mean, our office is right across the street.
Yeah, I know.
We actually, after Barrigi was here the last time, we reached out to him to see if there was anything we can do to partner with him to help out. Since he had already done all the legwork, we didn't feel like we wanted to jump in and try to take the project away from him. So we thought we might be able to help him out with doors and windows or the tuck pointing. I don't even know if I knew the tuck pointing was on the plate or not,
I don't think we did then.
but yeah, I mean, there's another option that I just sent a text to one of the guys at work. It's called BOT, buy, build, operate, transfer.
Yeah, that's why we did the jail.
So I don't know if that would be something that could happen
I don't
here.
think we need to do it on a smaller project, what it is. I mean, literally, we have the cash to do it. You know, a bot is great, but they're a little expensive as far as cost. If we can borrow money at 2%, I don't think I would do that.
Okay.
If I remember right, when we did the jail bot, if we bought the bot out at the end, which is what happens a lot of times.
Yeah, that's
And if we'd have kept the bot in place, it's gonna be about a little over 5.2% or something like that.
right.
And of course, we ended up bonding it for a lot less than that, but, and I just don't think if we can get loan money at 2%, I don't think we need to do that, so. Build and transfer, so I bought it.
So did they get back with you when you asked them about partnering?
Yeah, they said they'd be interested if they did get the project, they'd reach back out.
So it would be a local?
Yeah.
Everybody looks at that.
Well, they're going, and obviously, they're gonna get a bid of a certain amount of money, and they're gonna try to get Jason's company as cheap as they can.
Well,
and they
sure.
can- Yeah, that's how it works.
That's how it works, American way.
So,
So who needs to reach out to Ryan as far as this grant and get this part?
well, I've
started?
already talked to him
Okay.
about it, so.
So I didn't know if it would be the
He
commissioner.
said if you wanted him to, he can come in here. He's on,
Yeah.
so.
What is,
But I think we need to employ his services. And I don't know if we need to have a motion to do that, or we need to do that.
We can't, I don't think we can do that.
not tonight, but I mean, is that something that
But
Can you?
Yeah, but he would make a proposal to do it, and just like anything else.
okay, well, we need to get that in the works, get the grant going, and,
The April meeting.
does that need to go to the commissioner then?
Well, the commissioners would basically agree to, that they want to let him propose it, and then we would vote on the money at some point.
Okay,
The only money involved is actually gonna be transferred from the grant.
yeah, you don't pay them up
You
front?
don't pay them.
I would like to know what he's thinking about as far as a fee. On a
The contractor,
Yeah, the,
yeah.
whatever.
Barrigi. I mean, on a $3 million project, you'd think it'd be 7 or 8 at the most, So,
I'd say it'd be more of a $250,000 project. Time to get all the,
Well, the percentage will go up smaller.
well, this is
It's-
3 years, this is 3 years old.
That's one of the reasons why I think sometimes you need to be better off getting things done, it needs to be done all at once.
Yeah.
Instead of
so they're rolling it out, part of the old jail. They say, well, if the other part's in good shape,
Yeah.
and kind of need to keep them all about the same rate.
Yeah.
Building automation.
Because I know one's very cost conservative,
Yeah.
but ask for
Technology
more,
being.
take less.
I think of it is, right now, we're in a
At
very
the same time, just
we get basically really low cost money and not have to use our cash reserves.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Keep yourself healthy and then allow the other, so we're gonna talk about a revolving loan.
Yeah, I mean, I think you don't spend your cash if you don't need to, not if you're gonna make money on it.
I think we definitely need to look at this pretty deeply. I'd like to get some more big numbers, can get that, to get some on board actually.
Yeah.
say, you know, give them the green light.
You guys did take the solar out, I mean,
Yes,
Yes, it's out of there.
So I
any
would,
paybacks are realistically just saving on electricity,
like, yeah,
not us generating on
Or what they consider design building company. So.
Yeah.
so I would get kind of, if I were you guys, I would put together what you think is, what you're willing to spend and what you can get done for that. And then let's see how we can get it done, funded. Get, as soon as you give me a ballpark number, I'll have Ryan run the numbers to see what we can do on the grant. He's already aware of it, so.
Well,
I have a question on the savings that they projected we'd have. Is that just the courthouse, or that include all the buildings from the original proposal, where it's all the county buildings?
The original was on all of them, and that was including that solar, which isn't gonna happen.
That's,
So, that's what she was just talking about. They need to figure out what that number is.
get a current of what we're going to do with savings, projected savings is.
and it was lighting in all the buildings is what's in this figure, and then the courthouse.
The jail. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, this is just the courthouse and lighting.
Ready to move on to next?
So again, council members, this is something that is of interest to you. As commissioner, I don't want to go out and do something that you're opposed to, okay? Because it's got to be a team effort. So basically, there's a definite need here, and we want to make sure that this is something that you're supportive of.
I don't believe that it's a good strategy to wait till you have a problem before you try to fix it. Sometimes maintenance is the best choice. And
Well, I don't think I mean, I think I can't speak for them, you guys can speak as commissioners, but I don't think it's been lack of maintenance, I think it's just, things are getting old and breaking down.
what was it, said the 90s when they put the windows in here? What was that?
Mike McCall was
Mid-80s.
involved at that time, because he was talking about doing that.
It's a long time.
So,
yeah, because when Mike was on the council with me, when I've been on this year, 24 years, so. Mike was on the council, he was a commissioner for 4 years, and he was on the council for like 16 years before I was even on. So he goes all the way back into the 80s.
Well, 19 years ago, they were getting estimates back then. Jack Withers and Charlie Brown was getting estimates to get new windows, and it's never happened. That was 19 years ago.
We're at the point now.
Yeah, I mean, you can
I
only,
think we're all on board to, let's take care of our building. And let's get the windows and doors and the tuck porting done. You know, the controls, heating controls, I think you're gonna see a major change in the energy costs out of that. I might be wrong about that. Jason will probably give us more idea on what. We update the thermostats and the controls and everything.
They would also, I would assume they would also update the actual heating distribution somehow, let's say.
That's gonna be the key, right? You don't wanna have 75 degrees in here and 68.
Like it is right now, and I'm sitting there going, man, it's hot in here.
But
and that's where the changing out the fan coil units would help take care of that, so.
This heater in here, I think, set on 65.
But it's at
The reason why it's
80,
turned
I
off,
think.
because it blows hot air at 65.
yeah, it does.
so I think we're on board.
I think the grant thing, we need to get that started.
We need to get the grant thing going, and then we need to figure out what it's gonna cost us after that. And so, to you guys, the marching orders is let's figure out what all it's gonna cost, or get us some kind of number.
Soon as I get the number, the faster we can get the grant process rolling and get all that going.
Well, then we got real numbers, not 3-year-old windows, because you know that's not even close probably.
I'd say it's 40% low.
Jason,
Yeah.
Easily.
once they turn around as far as getting some accurate numbers, they said, we're looking at windows that
Window technology's changed just over the last few years, but, so it might be something better and more efficient, you know.
If you had a scope of work letter, that somebody could run around and just check things off the list, realistically, you should be able to get a contractor to get you a number back in 2 weeks.
That's pretty impressive.
That's your local contractor down the street.
Yeah,
I can get out there, saying that I put out there for the proposals a week,
Okay,
and they're usually 1 or 2 weeks turnaround.
okay. So I think that's where we probably need to start. Yeah. Good information, thank you.
next topic.
Anything else?
Do we need to get on the commissioner's schedule meeting for the next meeting? For Ryan to come in and talk to him about the grant, or?
He would probably do it. I don't necessarily, I mean, he's aware of it now, so if I call him and tell him, hey.
I'm just
we're gonna
saying,
get-
do we need to get him on the schedule so that it's
That's
part of the
Yeah, I'm
meeting?
sure he would be willing to do that.
Good.
But until he gets a solid number to work off of, he can't do much.
Okay.
I mean, he'll locate all the resources, obviously.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do we need something on to get things moving on the commissioner's schedule so that he can come in, talk to him, present it,
Yeah,
so that we get the
I'll
ball.
talk to him after,
We don't have to wait another month.
I'll talk to him tonight.
Yeah, because that's the bad,
Yeah, I don't wanna wait another month.
Yeah.
No,
No, and we don't want to wait another. So Patty, will you put that on their schedule?
how's the morgue coming?
Hopefully we got some concrete getting poured so we get it moved out and get going on that.
the what?
The morgue?
Oh,
He had talked about it at the chamber meeting, and that's why I asked.
I met with a concrete guy yesterday. So we started utilizing.
Try out.
Yeah.
Had been real good weather over the
Uh-uh.
winter. Feel like it worked, so.
my yard looked like a swamp.
Yeah.
I picked a bad fall to put new topsoil in my backyard.
Is there anything left?
It's a swamp. It's like a mud bath. My grandkids decided it'd be a good idea to walk through it the other day. That's a bad plan. Had to get in the shower. Okay, next, you guys want to talk about the revolving loan thing next, or is there something else you want to talk about first?
You know more about that than.
Well, I mean, he presented at the last meeting, I think everybody, to do a revolving loan fund for housing development. And basically what it would do is multiple things, is you've got contractors that a lot of times want to build speculative things, and they don't, a lot of times banks don't want to take the risk of funding loans beyond a certain threshold, and it kind of gives them a fill in the gaps a little bit and be administered, in this particular case, by Thrive, again, because they do that stuff all the time. I will tell you that you were there at the meeting, they talked about, they have one that's not for housing, it's just for business projects, basically. It's been around since, you remember what he said? It's been around for a long time. I remember when it's created, but it seems like it's like 12 years ago. It's the original loan they ever did in that, was they had some loss on it, but that's the only one they've ever had in their history. If you live and learn, you know. And it was originally a $750,000 grant, and now that fund has 1.185 million in it, I believe. And that's just because of, as it's revolved, it's increased the value, they get a little interest. It's not a high interest fund. And that's the way those things typically work. And if you have good administration, you typically don't have a lot of losses.
Like he said, they
And
did.
we would do one that's specifically for housing projects, since that's a very much a point of emphasis. And I don't know if he talked about that here, but I can just tell you that I've talked to other people with the new tax bill, this SB1 and all that. The most important thing you can do to increase to be able to maintain your tax base is housing, because that bill basically eliminates the first $2 million of business tax and different things. So that's a big change, because businesses used to pay more than residents. And so you've got to have housing. And
Yeah, what we need to do is.
And plus there's also an
tax
income
on
effect.
housing, plus the tax on the income when they work here and live here.
exactly, and it's because it is going to be, the tax code, which Clay County has kind of been ahead of the curve on that. I mean, most people don't realize that 0.75% of our income tax is actually offsetting our property taxes. And that's why we have such low property tax rates. And they're going to take that away from us. So we're going to have to offset that. So what we will do is, instead of giving the tax, because they're going to lower the property taxes on the state level, they're going to say you can only collect this percentage or whatever. What we'll have to do is that tax credit that they're taking away anyway, we just won't give it back in any other form, we just keep it. So it won't raise our taxes, but we'll just increase our revenue. And then you gotta have more houses and you gotta have more employees to be able to raise. You know, the danger with income tax, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't have a problem with this. That's why we've done it for years, but is that it is very economy specific. You get a slow down economy and your high income based taxes, you're gonna slow down in your income. So you better be able to have some cash reserves and adjust on the fly, because your income's gonna go down if the economy hasn't. Now, we haven't had, and part of that's because the Fed has printed so much money over the last 20 years. We haven't had any big downturns, but we've had massive inflation. Well, massive inflation actually increases our revenue because it's inflated.
What is our percentage, Larry, our cash?
A Cadget, 2.35 total. That's all of that's a jail, the special purpose tax for the jail. That's the Cadget and Lowit all added together.
What percent of the budget is that, you know?
That's a good question. How much of our total income comes from our income-based taxes? I don't know if we've ever calculated that.
Yeah. I haven't.
It's higher than a lot of counties, I'll tell you that. And, well, that's not necessarily so. Because that 75 cents, or 70.75, you know, I always think it's 75 cents on the dollar, is going back for property tax relief. So we're not collecting that in property tax. We're
I
collecting
looked at that number and it was something like $5 or $7 million. That's 75% going
Well,
back.
a 1/4% tax is 1.4 million, 1.3 million. Just a 1/4% tax.
Well,
That's the only reason I know that's because that's how we collect the bond for the jail, is a 1/4% special purpose tax.
okay.
And it's 1.3 or 4, you know, Patty, how much do we collect in the jail bond account every year? How much is the total contribution this last year or two? Because that'll tell you what a 1/4% is, because that's an undivided 1/4.
Well, we did the 1/10% for the
That's for the,
911,
that was basically
That
the
was
pay for Brazil's 911.
$700,000.
Yeah.
And again, it's undivided, that means the county gets all of it. So it might be 1.6 now on the jail gadget, or on the jail special purpose tax. By the way, that is, Jason at Similar told me that doesn't actually go off until the end of 27. We thought it was gonna go off in the end of 26. So we have a whole nother year of collection on that, because what we thought was, with SB1, one of the things we feared, and I don't think we're gonna have an issue with it because we have the reserves, but one of the things we did fear is if that special purpose tax went off with the jail bond, then we were gonna have to replace it with, we would just take the same percentage and add it back to the Cadget. But the negative part of that was you have to split it between other municipalities. Well, with SB1, we don't have to do that. We can keep the whole thing. It's up to the county council to decide how you split that. Now, they have, the taxing units like Brazil and municipalities and townships, they have their own rate. That's their own amount that they can determine what it is and what's expected. But then there's a whole part of that the county gets to determine. And one of the things that we would probably do if we needed it is just to go ahead and take that special purpose tax, because 28, the SB 1 kicks in, that special purpose tax, we would just go ahead and establish that tax to pay the jail bond. My guess is we'll end up paying a jail bond off early, just like we did the last time.
So back to this revolving loan that we're talking about, this would be a line item. And let's say, you know, X amount of dollars is in there, then there is a small increase because there's an interest rate there on those. And let's say.
And there's some expenses, but you do pay the administrators.
Okay,
It's like,
let's say 3 years down the road, we say, you know, we need that money for something else. Is there a contract that we've signed, it's there for 5 years?
you can pull
We
it
can
back.
pull it out. Okay.
Never seen it happen before, but it can be done.
Okay.
Now, you can stop, you know, there are some people that say we're gonna add X dollars a year. You can always say, we don't wanna add that, and people have done that, but I've never seen anybody actually pull the funds back.
Okay.
I'm sure somewhere, if you looked hard enough, you'd probably find somebody that lost it all. But if you have a good strategy and plan, and you got good lenders reviewing those loans, you're not gonna have that happen.
The vetting process.
Yeah, because a lot of times it's already been to a bank. And a bank has said, well, we can't do this full amount, but if you had somebody come in with a bridge of a certain amount, then we'll help you. Well, then you kind of got two people reviewing it. And so it's a little higher risk than the bank. Well, yeah, it's higher in the hierarchy. But it also is going to be, you know, a lot of times a project saver. And like I said, that fund that they started out with 750, it's right, it's got 1.185 million in it. So obviously they haven't lost money. And by the way, how much, it's almost all, right now it's almost all loaned out. They have, I think he had $85,000 left, not loaned.
I think that's what he said.
But every month it comes in, I think they told me every month the payments into that are like $24,000 a month.
Larry, as I understand it, this will be at the local level, right?
This would just be a Clay County.
Committee that would review all the applications, and is it the committee then that makes a
Yes.
determination, how much money they get or no money?
Yeah, they're the final say.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with us. It would be.
Yeah,
I know we kicked around $1 million figure at one point in time, but
yeah.
I think, and I'm just jumping ahead, but I don't know where we are with our cash right now, but I would bet we've got $500,000 sitting around somewhere that we could throw into it now, and then talk about at the end of the year or next year, based on our cash, throwing another $500,000 at it, and walk into it a little slower than $1 million.
We got $2.4 million in a rainy day fund right
Yeah,
now.
I know.
But it's been raining a lot.
Really? Well,
We have, by the way, we have loaned money out at one time to ourselves because of tax collection. We've never taken money out of that since I've been on the council.
well, I guess what I would like to do also,
Well, that's not true. We did take some money out of it for something. Maybe when we, boiler project maybe, or when we put those, the new coils in,
Chillers?
the chillers, I mean, chillers.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Can't remember that we've ever taken any for
I was
sure.
gonna say, if our cash looks good, come June, July, budget time, maybe we wanna take some of our cash and put it in bridges. Or somewhere else,
Not all in a revolving.
not all, no, that's why I'm saying, let's walk into this revolving thing and say, okay, we're putting $500,000.
Got it in right now.
We'll put $400,000 in there.
Do you have a
Something-
ballpark number what general fund has in it right now?
Something that's not gonna hurt our cash.
What?
516.
Well, you don't have to
5.6
jump
million.
in. You can slide in.
Slide.
General,
There you
And
go.
we haven't even got our spring tax collection yet.
No, that won't be into the summer.
We've got 5.6 million in general, we haven't have our spring tax collection, so.
Well, how much money did Vigo County and the city of Terre Haute put in for that problem?
It's like 12 million.
Yeah, but they used ARPA
They
money,
used their
so
ARPA
totally
money.
different deal, because they didn't take it out of there.
You also supposed to got a new plan going in over there, supposed to hire 650 people, and then Terre Haute has no, Vigo County has no housing.
Well,
They're hurting. And if we-
they're hurting for housing, but they are better than they were last year, because they built,
But if we do
how
something,
many did you say last?
1,300?
And I don't.
We were at Marty and I were meeting Monday night, and they said how much they've built just in the last year, and it's incredible.
It's crazy.
Well, between Clay County and Vigo County, just what projects Drive's been involved in, they've built $141 million worth of new homes and apartments and housing. And they've got next year already committed $200 million. So they're building it.
Yeah.
And so these things are working. We just, some of them are in Clay County though, because those went over
here.
the ones down here, across.
The reserve, they did 12 homes in there.
And then you got out there by Staunton,
Mhm.
those. And then I know of 4 more houses that are gonna get built by a speculative house. But he's gonna own them and he's gonna rent them. So they're gonna be all rentals. I mean,
And we need those too.
yeah, and then, I mean, there are positive movements ahead, I think, on our housing, but we need to kick start it. You gotta. I tell you, I'll just be real honest with you, that when I heard Great Dane a few years ago said they were thinking about moving to Oklahoma because they had employees, that scared me to death. It's like, we gotta get more people. And I don't think it's as bad as it was, but I think it's still pretty bad. I don't think they have not heard them say anything about that for a long time. That was like 3 years ago, but that's a scary thought. But it gives you a wake-up call, going, hey, we gotta be about things here. So, and there's a company right there that's improved their wages and benefits a lot in the last 5-6 years, so. They've been fighting to be successful, to help people like that. Anybody else have anything they want? So what do you think on that?
And I'd like to know what Ryan, figure, I mean, I know we threw out $1 million in the beginning, but, obviously.
He said $500,000 to start could work.
Could work, but what, are we missing something by not doing the $1 million, or are we gonna shortchange ourselves?
This is what I think. If we put $500,000 in, and then we saw demand more beyond what that would be,
Then put more in.
we could always go back and put more in. We don't have to wait.
That's what Jason, you can see that it's working.
Yeah, I mean, if we put $500,000 in and in 6 months, he comes and says, hey, guys, we've loaned it all out, these are all the
Here's the
projects,
houses, here's.
everything else, and I got demand for another $500,000, then we ask, what is our cash flow, where are we at? Do we have any extra? Let's grab and go. If it's making a positive impact in our community. I mean, that's.
How do you feel about that?
That sounds great to me.
What about you?
I like the sliding into it.
Yeah, I don't want to jump.
Right. And if we can afford $500,000, the sooner we start it, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
I think this would help some people out locally to do what they'd like to do, but they don't have the funds to do it.
I'll tell you, it's not only just not having the funds. Some people just don't want to take 100% of the risk on if they do, because they're too close to the edge. I know people who got funds, but they would take it from something that's already making money and put it into something that they hope to make money, and that's a scary process. I mean.
No, I like the idea of when he brought Shane, and like I say, I only know Shane through business. I don't know him personally or anything, but we have a lot of young people that we need to keep here. And if we make, something for them to do and help them out, they won't leave our community. So that's where I'm at on it. Help our young kids stay here.
Okay.
I mean, I got a daughter that it moved away to prosper. So, seeing him, I think, and that they're vetted properly.
Yeah.
The liens get placed properly,
So they forget back there, worry about where the lanes are.
that lien thing bothers me. I mean, that needs to be placed because that protects us. And I think it's a good thing. I don't want to jump on it, but I think we could slide in there and help them.
This money goes to Thrive, and they control it.
Well, it's held in a separate account and they just administer
But they
it.
administer.
It's kind of like
Okay, so if we take it out of our, say.
general and put it into
Okay,
a
so
revolving loan.
we're drawing interest now on that, but we're gonna lose the interest. If we give it to Thrive, we're gonna lose that interest?
Well, they pay interest on the revolving
We
loan.
would get the interest, just in a different way.
They still pay interest on it. It's not gonna be a free loan.
Okay, well, that's what I'm trying to, no, I know it's not gonna be a free
No.
loan. What I'm asking is the money now, we're getting interest on from the bank.
The interest rate.
This money, if we give it to Thrive, do we still receive interest?
No.
Not counting whenever these people pay back and they're paying us interest.
But we're gonna get that.
We take the money and put it into a pot, and that interest that they pay goes into that pot,
Right.
and it's no longer it is our money, but we don't have ties to it. So anything that happens in that pot is in that pot, and Thrive kind of looks over it, takes care of it, and we get reports that show how much we loaned out and we did and helped out. But as far as us, we realistically, if we're getting 5% interest, we've lost 5% income off of the $500,000. So we have lost income.
I don't think we're getting 5% right now.
Well, I don't know.
I can tell you the rate on the loan fund would be higher than what current rates are.
So,
That we get.
so the truth is, we are losing a little bit of income because we have done this.
But
Not necessarily.
We're making income on taxes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tax money back from the houses.
It's not something you're gonna see right away though, right?
This is gonna be a long-term process to receive money back.
Absolutely.
But we're gonna see the return on the property tax.
Yeah.
Coming back into the county, that's gonna be.
But the fund itself will get interest. I mean, I want you to understand, I mean, that $750,000 that Thrive put in 12 years ago has got 1.185 million in it. It's because of the interest that was collected on the loans and
And it
the
could,
money didn't sit in it very long, so there's not gonna be a lot of bank interest just on the money sitting there because it's gonna be loaned out. But those loans all have amortized loans attached to them, so we're gonna
if we get new families in here, up on the income tax,
yeah, and that, I mean,
Well,
that's the
that's an
whole point.
investment.
You get a benefit on the other side, plus hopefully income, so.
It's just long-term.
I really don't, I actually think we would net more money loaning it out than what we would leaving it in the account sitting there on interest.
Well, after it's been in there for a couple of years, we've had added houses,
Yeah.
then the property taxes and the income, or the taxes are gonna outweigh.
But but I think even just, if we didn't even get anything on that side, we would make money on the interest because unless we have a bunch of defaults, and I don't think that would be, unless the economy, we can't predict, I mean, the economy could go to heck in a handbasket and we're all sitting here thinking, how we gonna make a living? You know, I mean, we don't, there's no guarantees on anything when it comes to that. But
No crystal ball.
no crystal ball.
How can we,
Wish I had one, I could make a
So
lot of
Patty,
money.
will you put on our agenda to, and this is for Eric too, do we need to enter a legal agreement with Thrive on this?
Yeah, they'll have all the documents that we would need. They would get those prepared for us, I'm sure.
And then Eric would look them over and make sure
Yeah.
everything's.
So I guess what we would want on our agenda is, an item that to enter into, to start the process to enter into an agreement with Thrive.
It's another thing I gotta call Ryan anyway. I'll just say,
That's all right.
what's the process, how we need to go about this, and we'll get it on the agenda.
But we need something on our.
Put Thrive and that on the agenda, and I'll talk to Ryan and get it. Whatever step we need to take next, we'll do that.
do we need to go and put the dollar amount in there to approve?
Well, it sounded like 500,000 to start with.
I mean, yeah, to vote on it, but I didn't know.
Well, we can't do that here, but.
Right, no, not here. Yeah, but at the meeting, so just as opposed to start.
Yeah, he'll create a proposal, and we'll vote on whatever documents we need to do at that time. We'll do it.
That's your question list.
And it is, and, you know, and there is a clause that says that at some point in time, we decide we want out of this, we just
Pull out.
close the process down and take money that's in there. Now, if there's loans outstanding, we'd obviously have to wait to get those funds back in, but, and there probably would be. But they're not long-term loans. They're not like 30-year, you know.
Well, he said 2 to 5 was what he said the other day.
A lot of times what they do is, once they get to a certain process, they either sell the property and pay it back, or they refinance the loan.
I think he said 5 to 7 years.
Yeah. The longest would be 5 to 7 years would be my
He
guess.
said the average was 2.
Yeah, it's more
2 to
like
5.
2 to 5.
Long terms up to 7 years, 5 years preferred.
Yeah. That's the terms of the loan, but like I said, historically, they pay them back sooner because
They're selling.
they sell the property. And so they don't, you can't sell the property and keep the loan.
That's what I was asking about. Yeah.
They gotta pay it back.
Anything with it.
So that's one of the great things about it though. I mean, because then it comes back in and guess what? You can loan it again. And it's a great thing.
Okay.
So I can't remember, he talked a little bit about, but that business one that they did, the number of thriving businesses that's come out of that is incredible. There's only one that failed, I think, is what he said. That's businesses, and that's more risky than houses, to be honest with you. Because you never know about a business enterprise. Of course, those are the ones that have been vetted. If I was vetting business enterprises, there'd probably only be about 30% qualified, so.
How can we?
I drag my businesses sometimes, and well, they're gonna go broke.
Now, like and I'd ask Brian, this may be an area question, as far as tax sales that the commissioners are gonna have, obviously, how can we retain some of that potential property to then put into this house building? I mean, is that a possibility? As opposed to them selling it at a tax sale to a company out of state, which seems like a lot of them have gone to in the past, and you know, they're sitting there waiting to
They don't upkeep.
collect the money, they'll upkeep them, and then, you know, they get the property by default, and then they turn around and sell it. Is there a way that the county can keep some of those, I'm not gonna say more or less desirable properties, but properties that have potential to build new housing on? How would we go about potentially keeping some of that for projects like this?
Well, you better have, well, if you did something like that, you better have a maintenance crew to go around and keep it all mowed and all that, so we'd be kind of generating more jobs that way, but, I mean, a lot of these lots are so small that it's always on our commissioner sale, or they're in a floodplain. I mean, a lot of them I do give to the mayor, and they'll go clean them up, but then they usually try to sell the lots to the house next to it, just so they'll have a little bit more property.
It gets it on the roll.
Huh?
It gets it on the roll,
Yeah,
at least.
It does, but it stops housing though, where it was a house, it was.
Well, I will say this, I know of someone who is interested in, if the county has any vacant lots available or know of where there's some that you can get your hands on, who would like to go in and build on vacant lots, he wants to be a gap filler, and it's a contractor.
Well, the
So
city
if
keeps a
you,
list.
if ever identified any of those, I would like to see, you say there's a list?
The city keeps Brian, isn't that what she was telling us at our meeting? That they keep a list of contractors and they contact the city when they have some like tax, and they'll tell them what lots are available.
This particular
Isn't that what
person
makes-
would like to build them somewhere south of I-70, so it's really probably a county issue.
Yeah, that would be a county, that would be Bristol City.
And so, you know, Corey, Clay City, maybe even Center Point, I don't know. But if there's any county available, you know, because like some of the areas, like Colmont, you could take the whole town and then put houses, new houses, and it would be a good thing.
And it'll come back one day, Comont. I mean, it really will.
Once the new sewer system gets in there, I mean, Comont will be.
Yes, it will. There's a lot of people talking about Comont.
Really?
Waiting for that sewer and stuff, yeah.
Really?
I guarantee you'll see a Dollar General and a Casey's.
Well, I could guess the Dollar General.
Right there by the park.
I had somebody told me they had a dream, they woke up, there's a Dollar General in their backyard.
But we've done some closings for people out of state that's bought in Colmont, and because of the park and the new sewer system and stuff, it's going to come back.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
See, me and Lance Hoffman today, we drove around looking for property for commercial, you know, for industrial. And we did the last 4 hours. I mean, he just got out of the truck with me.
Well, you just saw him right after I did.
Yes, I heard. So, but we've been out looking at all different properties, and we have inquired about a bunch of them. So, I mean, that's coming out. Want to bring that to you guys, because if we don't have any property to market, you can't hardly get anybody to come in here. You gotta have own something.
You know,
Since the industrial park's full, we need to be out getting something going.
well, there's also some new grants available to increase infrastructure that Ryan was telling me about today that he just found out. He just come out of a big meeting in Indiana, they were talking about all this stuff. So I'm gonna ask him about that too, because I can tell you, the one, I have a little bit of a fear, you know, the Colmont thing costs us some money, obviously. But we had at least a viable solution because it's so close to Jasonville. But what if that happens to Corey or Bowling Green? There's no place nearby to supply water and sewer.
Now, Bowling Green's got city water.
Bowling Green does?
Bean, yeah, it's on the Bean Blossom system.
I did not know
It's out of
that.
County, yeah.
Oh, you know, there's a here.
No sewer though.
Oh, I know there's no sewer. This is called the eel.
Yeah.
Flows
Yeah.
downhill. I mean, it literally, it flows down. It's over.
Down the street from there, that's not gonna work.
Yeah. But, hey, I used to swim in that thing all the time with the kids, so that's why I don't have any hair.
It got filtered out here.
It's pretty bad.
It's actually a lot cleaner than it used to be.
Yeah.
I can tell you, when I was a kid, it was not as clean as it is now. So, I used to have blonde hair.
And it was a big fro.
Huh?
And it was a big fro.
I used to be really skinny, and now I'm not. That has nothing to do with the eel, I'm sure. But, you know, but Corey is actually a prime location for also expansion out of Vigo County. And if you've noticed, I mean, I've said it for 10 years, of course, we already know that Gibson already had it locked up. But I was telling my wife, well, I'll start buying all this ground on the east side of Terre Haute. I said that 10, 15 years ago. Well, look at it. And there's gonna be a Target store going in there now.
Yeah.
There's gonna be, I mean, well, that's getting awfully close to Clay County, folks. And so that pushes things out and there's gonna be demand of someone, but the infrastructure is gonna be the holdback on that side of the county because there's just nothing there. And those are things that we really, I'm not gonna be here at the end of this year. I'll be gone because you guys are gonna take over and whoever else is here, but that's something you gotta think about for the long term is how are we gonna do that? Because it's coming. And the sooner it would get planned and done, the better. So I know there's people sniffing right now in that area. So, and you know, one of the things I've figured out is that like, there are certain people in areas that like, if they want, like Colmont area, if they wanted to get a sewer system in, they just go get somebody to take samples out of the ditch and turn them into EPA. And the next thing you know, the county's got built, but that's what they do.
Gotcha.
When's that going to happen in other areas? And then we're going to be going, what are we going to do? Because we got the same, and that's a bigger problem over there than what it is over close. It just is. So, something to think about.
Probably needed fixed though.
It did need fixed.
I'm glad that it got fixed.
Oh, I'm glad
I don't
it got,
want that.
I'm glad it got fixed, don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying, it's better to plan for something and have a
Absolutely.
plan in place than to get a warning that, hey, you're gonna get sued by the EPA if you don't fix this problem.
Yeah.
Because then short-term decisions always tend to cost you a lot more money. And plus, you don't have time to go seek all the grant possibilities and all the other things. And make sure that you get multiple bids and you're not just chasing some, you know, contractor's dream in some case.
Well, and that's the housing committee like we're on. That's where you gotta get the school corporation involved too.
They never showed up.
They never showed up, no, never visited, but you gotta get the school corporation involved, because you start developing and getting new houses and doing all that, our schools are already full.
Are they really? I didn't know that.
Not all.
Not all of them, but there's some that
There
are.
are some that are, you're right. Staunton's
Staunton
packed.
full, and Clay City is full.
A lot of those Clay City increases kids from Riley.
Yes. So I mean,
Oh, God.
it's time to, we gotta talk there too. I mean, not to, everything, if we are successful, then it causes problems down the road to fix.
But that's a good problem.
It's a
That's
good
a good
problem. I
problem.
don't know. It's not a bad
It's a good
problem.
problem to have.
Well, if Terre Haute goes ahead with their proposed building.
Oh, people are gonna be
program,
looking
it's
over here.
Or if they don't.
Yeah,
If they're gonna-
exactly, yeah.
So, I mean, we gotta,
Yeah, they're in the kitchen.
we gotta have the school corporation involved. And we never did see them on our committee.
We've been getting a lot of terrible kids
Oh, yeah.
in Northview.
We,
Oh, yeah.
we get quite a few down places,
They've got
especially
issues.
from over the, like west of Corey in that area.
The lack of maintenance, what it does.
We're gonna start getting Lewis kids too, I guess, because
Well,
they're either gonna go to Shackamack places.
that lack of maintenance is a prime example of our courthouse here.
Right.
I mean, Terre Haute does not take care of their schools, and we've got to take care of this courthouse.
Yes.
Or if not, the windows start falling out of it.
We'll say Marty was right.
Marty, you didn't get it done.
Marty was
He'll get
right.
blamed for it. If you don't do it, he'll get blamed for it.
If you do it, he'll get blamed for it.
Yeah, he does do it, he's gonna get blamed, all right.
So, but anything else,
Anybody
guys?
else have anything that wanna bring up while we're here?
I'll move with adjourn.
It's my 50th wedding
Second.
anniversary. I'd like to go home.
Do we actually have to do that? I like.
It says adjourn on here, so.
Fantastic.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Yeah, 50 years today. Wedding anniversary. I'd like to go home.
Oh, how many?
50 years.